A Christmas Carol is a classic novel by Charles Dickens. They've made dozens of movies and TV shows out of it. My personal favorite is The Muppets Christmas Carol. The original book was written in 1843. How does it stand up today? It's pretty darn good. I could easily understand the characters, the language, and what was happening. I'd say at most 10% of the book was confusing to me, either because the phrasing is weird or the characters are referring to things I don't know about, like the treadmill or blue laws. The vast majority of the book can still be understood today, and the writing is very good. Reading this, you can see why Dickens became a famous author. It's all good stuff. It's also very nuanced with many layers. It deals with themes like regret and charity. A lot of the metaphors are clever, there are memorable lines and characters, and on top of all that, it's a good story. You could do this story in a different time, in a different place, with different characters, and it's still good. The story centers around Ebenezer Scrooge, a bitter, greedy man who only cares about making money. Scrooge shows off how terribly mean he is by yelling at his nephew and two people who are gathering donations for the poor. Scrooge says he would rather see poor people die or rot in prison. Scrooge is reluctant to give his clerk Christmas off, and he's mad when a caroler gets in his way. Granted, it's annoying when strangers sing loudly into your ear, but the point is that Scrooge is a jerk. Scrooge goes home where the ghost of his former partner appears. Scrooge thinks this is all fake until the ghost detaches his jaw. Ugh. The ghost says he spent the last 7 years tortured by remorse over his greed, and Scrooge will meet the same fate if he doesn't repent. Scrooge is visited by three spirits. First is the ghost of Christmas past, which takes Scrooge to various Christmases in the past. As a child, he was abandoned at school during the holidays. When he first started out in business, he was a very different person, preferring happiness to money. Scrooge is tortured when he's forced to watch the Christmas where he broke up with his longtime fiancée, Belle. She canceled the engagement because he's changed too much. He's not the man she fell in love with. Scrooge is further grieved when the spirit shows Belle went on to marry another man. They have a large, happy family, while Scrooge is all alone. The scenes in this chapter are short and blur together a little bit, instead of having distinct starting and stopping points. Some scenes have strong details, while others don't. I thought that was clever. The memories of the past are literally displayed like memories. But I suspect the author was going for a different effect because the other two ghosts glide through scenes in the same way. The second ghost is Christmas Present, who is a joyful giant with a feast. He shows off all the people who are having a great time on Christmas, running around town and buying food. Even people in lonely places like mines and lighthouses are getting into the spirit. Scrooge spends a good part of the day at the house of his clerk, Bob Cratchit. They're having a grand celebration, despite having so very little to celebrate. The happiest family member is a crippled boy named Tiny Tim. When Scrooge asks about Tiny Tim, the spirit repeats Scrooge's cruel words from earlier, that poor people should die to stop overpopulation. The Cratchits become gloomy when Scrooge's name is mentioned. Scrooge's nephew has the opposite reaction. He and his friends laugh long and loud about how stupid Scrooge is, how mean Scrooge is, how he'll never be happy. In a scene that I've never seen in any adaptations, Christmas Present has two starving, diseased children hidden in his robes. They are ignorance and want, the foul creations of humanity, which can lead to doom if not cared for. The ghost of Christmas yet to come is a draped, hooded phantom that never speaks and rarely moves. I think it's the personification of death, which is the only thing that's certain in the future. The spirit takes Scrooge to some businessmen who gossip about a dead man that no one likes. They laugh at the idea of attending his funeral. The man is so hated his servants have no problems stealing his things and selling them. The only people who are happy he's dead are a poor couple that owed him money. The spirit takes Scrooge to the dead man's corpse, but Scrooge is too terrified to lift up the sheet that covers his face. It's a really morbid scene. I can understand why I've never seen it in any of the adaptations. There's a heartbreaking scene at the Cratchits where they mourn the death of Tiny Tim. Scrooge begs to know if this future must happen, or if Tim's life can be saved in the upcoming year. The spirit remains silent. The spirit leads Scrooge to a forgotten, neglected gravestone. Scrooge has a large breakdown when he sees the grave is his own. Scrooge promises to change his ways and live an altered life, to keep joy and charity in his heart all year long. Scrooge wakes up on Christmas Day, and he is as good as his word. He's kind to everyone he meets, he makes a large donation to the poor, he spends the holiday with his nephew, and he gives Bob Cratchit a large raise, paying for Tiny Tim's medical expenses. Scrooge laughs and is happy for the rest of his life. Belle isn't mentioned, but I'm sure there are tons of fanfics where Scrooge is reunited with her. That's the book. Like I said, it is very good. If you enjoy the movies based on this book, I would recommend reading the original. I'm glad I read the original. I give A Christmas Carol a 10 out of 10.